Welcome to North Penn Television. I'm your chef, Cynthia Wood, and this is Meals You Can Make. Today we're going to do a really nice chicken dish. I think it's about 7 ingredients that we're using, and we're going to start with our vegetables. And the reason that we're going to start with vegetables is because if you use the same knife, and this is my favorite knife, so I always use this one, you don't want to start with your chicken because then you have to stop, make sure you wash it with hot soapy water so that you don't cross-contaminate your food. I know that sounds like science class, but chicken can harbor some bacteria, so we don't want to do that first. We're going to do these first and then finish with our chicken, and I'll show you how to clean that up a little bit. So first we're going to start with a carrot that I've already peeled. I'm going to cut the ends away. If you saw last week's episode, you'll see how we started the carrot sticks. We're just going to slice them like this, as thinly as you can without losing a knuckle. And then if you stack them this way, we're just going to get some nice little sticks. And the idea behind this is we want to be able to cook this in a little bit of butter just to brown them, sort of candy them, but not exactly because we're not going to add sugar. So we're going to slice them thinly so that they don't take an awfully long time to cook. And we're going to do the same with this piece so that you can see it again. And if you wanted to, you could dice them like we did before if you want to try to camouflage them from anybody in the family that won't eat carrots. And one more piece. And since this is kind of thin, we're going to leave this flat while we cut it, just so that we're safe. And here we go. All right, so now our carrots are ready. So now we're going to take our broccoli, and we're only going to use the florets off the top. So I'm just going to cut it right like that. If you want to make cream of broccoli soup or even another vegetable soup, you can skin this and then boil it and puree it in a blender or in a Cuisinart. So don't waste things like this. You can hang on to it and use it for something else. I'm going to cut this off the same way. And if you have any of those long, ugly leaves hanging off, make sure you pick those off. And then we're just going to cut through the stalky part to break them up into smaller pieces. And then I'm going to put them in my colander because we're going to want to wash that really well. Get these over here. Okay. So there's our broccoli. And then we're going to rinse this. And when we cook this, we're not going to take very long with it either. This is definitely a really quick meal, which is what we're trying to share with our viewers. Easy, quick dinners. Things that won't keep you in the kitchen forever, that look good, that taste really good, and hopefully we'll be able to do that for you. Our water's boiling now, and we're going to just put some regular white rice in. The way to work with rice is, if you think about it as a mathematical equation, 2 cups of water to 1 cup of rice will give you 3 cups of cooked rice. So 2 plus 1 is 3. So I have 1 cup in the bowl. I'm going to drop that in. And I kept one in the measuring cup just to show you. These are measuring cups for solids. This is a measuring cup for liquids. There is a difference. Please try, if you can, to use the right type of measuring cup. So I'm just going to drop that in there also. And then about a teaspoon of salt. And like I said, if you pour it into the palm of your hand, it measures almost an exact teaspoon. So we're going to drop that in, stir that around, and then put the lid on that and let that cook. When that's ready, everything else is going to be ready. So make sure your family's ready to have dinner. Now I'm going to turn the big burner on. I hope. Nope, wrong one. Here we go. to about maybe medium high. And we have a little bit of butter. You know how I like my butter. We're going to put a little bit of this in the pan once the pan gets hot, because butter burns more quickly than oil. Well, oil rarely burns unless you walk away and leave it, or margarine, but we're really not going to use a whole lot of it, so I think it's better for the flavor. So I'm just going to drop that in there if I can. There we go. And then, since we have our vegetables cut already, I am going to show you the chicken. Now you can purchase tenders that are already cut. They are more expensive, so if you have chicken breasts at home, boneless, or even on the bone, if you feel like cleaning them. I don't really like cleaning chicken, but you have to do it sometimes. These are the tenders that come out of the package. If you buy a chicken breast and flip it over, these are the underneath part of the chicken breast, and you can just pull them right off the breast. They have a little bit of a tendon in them. It's a little grizzly. If you hold on to it with your hand, or if you lay it on your cutting board and put a knife against it to hold it down, you can slide that right out of the chicken. That way, when you bite into this, especially if you have children at home, because once they get something too chewy in there, they're not happy about it. It's easier if you just clean it ahead of time. So I'm just going to show you again. If you hold on to that and use your fingers, you can slide it right out. So we have our chicken tenders. Now I'm going to wash my hands since I touched the chicken. Make sure you use an antibacterial soap, because that's how most people get belly aches when they're eating chicken. It's either not cooked well enough, or because something that isn't cooked touches the surface where the raw chicken was, and so the germs carry on. So you want to make sure you're really, I mean, don't be like crazy about it, but make sure that you really pay attention when you're using raw chicken or any kind of raw meat, so that you don't make yourself sick. Now our butter's starting to melt. And we can hear that a little bit. I may put just a little bit more in, because we don't want to burn the chicken. Now I'm just going to take this and lay this in here. And depending on the size of your burner, try to keep your chicken in the center of the pan so that it's right on the heat element. It's especially if you have a larger chunk of it, because you don't want anybody to get a piece that's not cooked through. So we'll lay that in there. Just about there. And this is just about a pound. So depending on how many people you're feeding, you can use more or less, but this is the kind of thing that makes nice leftovers too. So it doesn't hurt to cook a little extra. I'm going to drop that in there. And with my hand that didn't touch the chicken, I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of salt. The lid is off my shaker, so I want to make sure I'm careful. Now I'm going to wash my hands again. Get the rest of that chicken off of there. And I want to make sure I don't drip on my broccoli. Okay, now this chicken will only take, with the heat of the pan, I would say between 10 and 12 minutes. So if you do it 6 on a side, you should be pretty good. If you want to do it ahead of time so that you can make sure that it's done thoroughly, you can put it on a cookie sheet and keep it in a low oven, maybe 200 degrees. If you're not sure if it's completely cooked through. But you can tell, I'm going to show you a piece, it starts to whiten up as it cooks. So you want to make sure that it's starting to turn white around the edges before you even think about flipping it over. Some of the last pieces that I put in the pan aren't even near ready. So now I'm going to put a little pepper on. And you can use regular ground pepper if you like, but I like to put freshly ground pepper. Gives it a little bit more of a bite. We'll put some of that on. And now I'm going to flip that one over because it looks pretty good. You might want to check on your rice too. Make sure it's not lumping up. So we'll do that now. And always pick your lids of your pans up and take them away from you so you don't hit yourself in the face with the hot steam. I mean, a lot of people think this stuff is elementary, but when you're in a hurry and you're trying to feed your family and the kids are running around, things slip your mind. So just as a little reminder, I'm going to turn that down a little bit. And that's getting, you can always test it by just squeezing it, and it's getting there. We'll just put the rest of that back. And you can even, once it gets to the point where it's just about there, you can even turn the heat off and just leave the lid on the pan, and it will absorb the rest of the liquid. If you wanted to, too, you could add a bouillon cube to your water and omit the salt, because bouillon has a lot of salt in it. But it would give your rice a little bit more flavor, chicken flavor, or you could use vegetable bouillon. But we're going to make a sauce today for our chicken. So I'm just going to leave the rice plain. And then as soon as our chicken, it's starting to brown up nicely, if you can see that. We have a couple pieces that aren't quite done. We'll move those to the middle. Now this kind of a meal takes a lot of attention for the 15 minutes that it takes to make it, but other than that, it's really a very simple meal because most people have rice in the cabinet. You have carrots usually in the refrigerator. Mustard, I'm going to be using for our sauce hot and sweet. It has a little bit more of a tang to it, but you could use regular Gould's mustard, any kind of brown mustard. Everybody has butter, half and half. You could use milk, but it's not going to thicken up as well. You could use heavy cream, but that's going to be really, really rich. So I like half and half because I have it at home for my coffee anyway. And it doesn't, you don't feel as guilty because there aren't as many calories in it. So, okay, now what I want to do is I'm going to throw these in when the chicken gets a little bit, don't want to say crustier, but when it browns up a little bit more, I'm going to put a little bit more butter around the edges and I'm going to throw my carrot sticks in. But for right now, I think we're going to take a short break and we'll be back in just a couple minutes.
A young child's mind is like gelatin. The idea is to put in lots of good things before it sets. A child's mind can take in more during the preschool years than at any other time. What better reason to donate a little of your own?
Don't you love that safe, free feeling you get in a pickup truck, Larry?
Yeah, nothing but you, me, the open road, a deer.
Yeah! A cow! Yeah! An ostrich! The village people! The village people?
You could learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle your safety belt.
Especially in pickup trucks.
I didn't know the village people were doing a road tour.
Someone once said, we all come into this world alone, and we leave the same way. But in between, we have the chance to connect and help each other, to find ways you can do something to connect with the people in your community. Call the Points of Light Foundation. Do something good. Feel something real.
It may not look like it, but you're watching the future of the Earth pass by. Because many of these products are made from materials you've been recycling. But to keep recycling working, you need to buy products that say, made from recycled materials. For all those next in line, it would mean the world to them.
welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're in the middle of a chicken dish. We have our rice just about ready. We have our chicken tenders that have been browning in a little bit of butter, about 2 tablespoons actually. And it is getting nice and brown now. So what I'm going to do is move that to the outside of the pan. And I'm going to add a little bit of butter now, maybe about another tablespoon, to the center. And our pan has been pretty hot because we were cooking the chicken at about medium high, but I've turned it down now. And I am going to let that butter melt right in the center. I'm going to drop our carrot sticks in that we've cut. It's actually just 1 large carrot. And I'm just going to put those into that melted butter. So this is going to brown them, make them kind of crunchy. So we have that. And now we have our water coming to a boil. I don't know if you'll be able to see in here, but I have put an insert, a steaming insert, into the pan. This way the broccoli will not get too mushy. So I'm going to take the broccoli. We've already washed it. I'm just going to drop that in there. You want to make sure the pan has a tight-fitting lid. This is just 1 bunch of broccoli. We're going to put that in, put the lid back on, and that's going to steam. Now while we're doing that, I'm going to turn our carrots. We have put a little bit of salt and pepper on our chicken, so a little bit of that flavor's on the bottom of the pan, but I am going to put a little bit of salt on our carrots. Okay, and let those cook for a second. So far we have our rice that's just about ready. We have our chicken that's just about there, our carrots, and the broccoli's just starting to steam. This is a nice dinner, actually for any time of the year, but if you wanted to make it a little bit more autumnal, you could substitute Brussels sprouts for your broccoli, or if you wanted to make it for a special occasion, instead of using chicken, you could use shrimp, and that also makes it a lot quicker because shrimp is done in 3 minutes, whereas chicken takes at least 12. And then, instead of broccoli, you could use snow peas with the shrimp, but the sauce would be the same, and I'm going to show you the sauce. It's really easy. I'm going to check a carrot stick before I push these out of the way, and they're really actually pretty nice. So I'm going to move those. We have butter floating in the bottom of the pan just a little bit, and this is what we call deglazing the pan. You can pour water into deglaze, you can pour wine into deglaze. We're going to use half and half today, and we're going to use a little bit of mustard. And this is a hot and sweet mustard. And I'm actually going to throw this in first before I deglaze the pan, but I think I'll have to use a different spoon. Well, how about a fork? We use the end of the fork. And you just want about a spoonful. So, to start with anyway. Just do a little tad more. And then, I'm going to grab my whisk and pour this cream right into this mustard. And the deglazing is actually when you get the pieces of the chicken or whatever it is that you're cooking in the pan, when they come up off the bottom of the pan. It sounds like a really technical term, but that's what deglazing is. Because you're taking the essence of the food that you've just cooked and you're removing it from the bottom of the pan. So now you can make a sauce like this starting with melted butter and you put flour into it. That's called a roux. Not as in roux the day, but as in R-O-U-X. But that makes it a little bit more fattening. And this, since it has the mustard in it, will actually thicken up nicely and you don't need to add flour. So I'm just going to try to get all the yummy bits off the bottom. And if you've noticed, I've only used not quite a cup. And since we have a couple of hungry cameramen here today, I'm going to make a little bit more sauce. Depending, like I said, on how many people you're feeding at home, you can use 1 spoonful of mustard to 1 cup of half and half, or you can use 2 spoonfuls of mustard and add that 2nd cup of half and half. And that's what I'm going to do. And too, if you like things really saucy, or if you want to have leftovers for tomorrow, or we have a nice crusty loaf of bread that we're going to have with this today, and that's what I like to do, is take my bread and sop up the juice. There we go. So we're going to let that boil up a little bit, and I'm going to check my broccoli, and that's just about there. So now what I'm going to do is move my cutting board out of the way, wipe up my mess, grab a plate. I'm going to show you how to plate it up. So we're going to take some rice, take our big spoon, and we're going to put our rice in the center of the plate. We'll make this look pretty. If you're in a hurry at home, you can just throw it all together. So we'll put our rice there. And then, turn this off. I'm going to take a couple of pieces of broccoli and put those in a pretty way. And it depends. If it's for kids, you can lighten up on the broccoli and add a little more rice. I'll put this little end under there. Now we're going to take some of our chicken, and we're going to put that like that. You want your food to be attractive when you serve it to your family or to your friends, but you don't have to worry about it looking sculpted or anything, because I think that takes the fun out of it, really. A lot of better restaurants think they're art museums and they make sculptures out of all the food. I think it's a little intimidating sometimes for people. Okay, so now we put some carrots in the center. I'm going to take a nice spoon and get some of this really great sauce. And think about it, it's easy. It has 2 ingredients. And we're just going to drizzle a little bit over the broccoli. Okay. And my restaurant training. Wipe that little spot off the plate. And there you have it. It's our chicken with mustard cream sauce. And as you can see, this is definitely a meal that you can make.
I haven't made up my mind yet. What are you gonna take?
Algebra.
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 If no one's explained how algebra, geometry, and calculus can improve your future, demand that you be told. Call NACME. We'll tell you.
Every day I try my best to meet the challenges that come with doing the toughest job in the world. If I fail, the consequences could be serious. That job isn't being president, it's being a parent.
And today, with drugs and all the other pressures facing our children, it's tougher than ever to be a good parent. It's a job that none of us can do alone. That's why 350 wonderful organizations have come together to create the Coalition for America's Children to help parents raise good kids.
The Coalition knows hundreds of ways you can help. Whether you're a young adult who can serve as a role model for troubled teens, or a retired person who can supervise an after-school program, the Coalition can help you get involved, right in your own community. We hope you will contact the Coalition soon and find a role that fits your schedule and your interests. You can make a difference. Thank you.
Welcome back to Meals You Can Make. We're going to review our ingredients for our chicken with mustard cream sauce today. We used chicken tenders that we sauteed in about 2 tablespoons, about a pound of chicken tenders, in 2 tablespoons of butter. We had 1 carrot that we did in a tablespoon of butter, also in the same pan with the chicken. We have 1 bunch of broccoli that we steamed off. We used rice, 2 cups of water to 1 cup of dried rice. And once our chicken was browned after our 12 minutes, we used about 2 tablespoons of mustard. You can use any kind of mustard. I like this, hot and sweet. And then about 1.5 cups of half and half to deglaze the pan. Once your chicken and your carrots are finished, just plop your mustard right in there, add a little bit of half and half, whisk it together, and this is definitely a meal you can make. I'm Cynthia Wood for North Penn Television, and we'll see you next time here on Meals You Can Make.
I hang out with a pretty trashy circle. The circle that helps this circle by recycling trash. We sort glass, plastic, separate cans, stack newspapers and magazines. Now, thanks to us, there are lots of products made from things we've already recycled. This cereal box wants your Sunday paper. These paper clips, in a more daring life, a 56 convertible. The circle works like this. It starts when we recycle trash at home and at work. It's completed when we buy products made from or packaged in recycled materials. How do you know the difference? Check the label for something called post-consumer recycled content. It looks like this. Make a mental note. Then buy the highest percentage of it you can find. You'll save a tree, you'll save energy, and in your own way, you'll help save the world. Complete the circle.
Call 1-800-CALL-EDF for your free Buy Recycled shopping guide. 1-800-CALL-EDF.
Math, a 4-letter word, right? Hey, you don't need that.
Why design the world's newest chips?
When you could be flipping the world's oldest burgers. Hey, wait a minute. This is math. Geometry, algebra.
No pocket protectors here.
But you're cruising without math. Yeah, right. Take a good look.
That's math staring back at you.
It's not a problem, man. It's an answer. Call NACME. We'll tell you what you need to do.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Wood, your host for Meals You Can Make here on North Penn Television. This week, we're going to be making a nice chicken dish, so I'm going to let you know what the ingredients are that you'll need. We are using chicken tenders, or you can use boneless chicken breasts. We're going to use some broccoli, a couple of carrots, some regular white rice, some half and half that I'm sure you have for your coffee at home, a little bit of butter, and a little bit of mustard. So we hope you'll join us here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5:30 p.m. for Meals You Can Make. We'll see you then.
People think because I don't talk about politics, I don't care about it. I let my vote talk for me.
I've seen my candidates win. I've seen them lose. I vote, I say my piece.
I listen to a lot of big mouths every day. You know what? My vote speaks louder.
I can't always speak my mind at work, right? But in the voting booth, I can say anything I want.
Listen, that's what my vote says. That's pretty satisfying.
On Election Day, vote for your candidate, vote for your country, but most of all, vote for yourself.